Perhaps the danger of this to your own mind is not yet fully apparent to you. What does that mean, the danger of this to your own mind? The danger of it is that your mind is itself in a conflicted state, and you don't even know it because it's second nature to you to deal with your interpretations of things instead of with the things themselves. And that's a form of insanity. It's certainly a concrete evidence of ignorance. Perhaps the danger of this to your own mind is not yet fully apparent to you, but this by no means signifies that it is not perfectly clear, the danger. If you maintain that an appeal for help is something else, meaning an expression of hate, if you determine that the call for help is aggressive lack of respect directed toward you, you will react to something else. And I'm going to put it this way. If you maintain that an appeal for help is something else, you will react to the something else. And your response will be inappropriate to reality as it is, but not to your perception of it. Your response will be perfectly appropriate in your mind when it's a response to your perception of what's going on. This is poor reality testing by definition. There is nothing to prevent you from recognizing all calls for help as exactly what they are, except your own perceived need to attack. You hear that? Except your own perceived need to attack. What are you talking about? I'm not going around feeling a need to attack. I never think about attacking. I never engage in anything that comes anywhere near attack, unless I'm really, really, really upset. What are you talking about? There is nothing to prevent you from recognizing all calls for help as exactly what they are, except your own perceived need to attack. Well, you can understand it a little bit better if we change the words to your own perceived need to defend yourselves. And every day, in one way or another, you get up ready to defend yourself. Ready to defend yourself against traffic jams, inconsiderate drivers that are behaving poorly and causing slow-ups that will make you be late to work. And perhaps threaten your job security because you've been late 3 times already. You get up careful to see that you run into the least obstacles to having a successful day, which means that you expect obstacles, that you believe that you live in a hostile world, one that you have to be on guard for, so that it won't trip you up and leave you at a loss at the end of the day. This attitude of being ready to defend yourself by all the means you use, having a good plan, thinking things through ahead of time so that you're prepared, and so on. These defenses, even though you describe them in glowing terms of respect, constitute an approach to your day and your world as though it is against you and you are prepared for it not to take you down. And so that is an attitude of attack. It is not a state of mind that can be described as love. Your very approach to your days is a call for love. Your very own approaches are calls for love. Again, because it's important, there is nothing to prevent you from recognizing all calls for help as exactly what they are, calls for help. Except your own perceived need to attack. It is only this that makes you willing to engage in endless battles with reality, in which you deny the reality of the need for healing by making it unreal. How do you make it unreal? You make the need for healing and you make the call for help unreal by naming it something else. What can you expect? She's a bitch. What else can you expect? He's a chronically dishonest person. You've made their behavior, which is a call for help, unreal, invalid, by naming it something else and then acting on the basis of what you have named it. And do you see that every time you do this, you miss connection? Even though on a camera it might appear that there's involvement. And if you are missing the connection with your brother, but are still having a mutual activity with him, what is going on? How would you describe what's happening? Nonsense. Meaninglessness. And you know what? That's what most of you see on the evening news. You would not do this. In other words, change the need for healing into something unreal. You would not do this except for your unwillingness to perceive reality. Your unwillingness to perceive reality, which you withhold from yourself. See? The truth sort of hits under the belt. It uncovers things that you're doing that you didn't know you were doing and that you would say you weren't doing. What do you mean? I have an unwillingness to perceive reality. Well, if you give preference to your definitions of everything in place of reality, the thing you're giving definitions to, you're withholding the experience of reality from yourself. Of course, there's a reason you're doing it. And the reason is, which goes back to our initial problem, the reason is that it's your task to practice the skill which you believe your father gave you, to be like your father alongside him. And so you engage in making up these definitions, and then behaving toward everything on the basis of these definitions, because that is the way you are going to ultimately, you think, prove that you're just like God. Prove that you are an authority. And prove that you're right, not wrong. And so it's an emotionally charged situation. You all withhold reality from yourself by trying to create an alternate reality. Right where reality is, and right with the stuff of reality. And that's why I keep talking about the need to look at everything with innocent eyes. You haven't realized you've been doing this, but you have been doing it, and you must break the cycle. And you break the cycle by being willing to assume that maybe you're not seeing everything as it is. And that maybe you're not seeing everything as it is what is causing discomfort, distress, suffering, and all the negatives that seem to be part of life. Continuing, it is surely good advice to tell you not to judge what you do not understand. Oh, but I do understand. I know Joe so well. I grew up with him. I know all his idiosyncrasies. I understand him perfectly. You know, he came from a deprived home life. And he's done really well in the face of it. Lifted himself up by his own bootstraps and blah, blah, blah. Got the whole picture down. But wait a minute. Is he a product of his environment? Is his behavior predictable and understandable because of everything you know about all the physical aspects of his growing up? Or might there be more to him that he's not aware of? Might there not be something divine about him? Might there not be another way to look at him besides through your perception, your definitions? Yes. You've got to dare to break the habit of perception. Or put another way, you've got to do whatever it takes to break your habits of misperception. By being willing to look with new eyes. Look with a willingness to see what is there that you have been overlooking. You must be willing to risk the chance that there might be some benefit in looking at things that you're sure of and saying to yourself, oh, I may not understand all there is to understand about this. There may be a lot more for me to understand. Your scientists are doing that in spite of the power with which they declare what they already know. They are still digging or reaching beyond what they acknowledge is their present limited perception. It is surely good advice to tell you not to judge what you do not understand. No one with a personal investment is a reliable witness, for truth to him has become what he wants it to be. Well, I don't want Joe to be in the situation he's in. I don't want to be unhappy because of what I see is going on with Joe. But the question is, do you want to let go of the perceptions you have developed, the concepts, the definitions you have developed? Are you willing to let your mind be changed? That's the real question. So that truth can be more than you want it to be from whatever your limited level of perception is? If you are unwilling to perceive an appeal for help as what it is because you are unwilling to give help and to receive it, because the two are one and the same thing. The analysis of the ego's real motivation is the modern equivalent of the Inquisition. For in both a brother's errors are uncovered, and then he is then attacked for his own good. What can this be but projection? For his errors lay in the minds of his interpreters, for which they punished him. You see? They didn't handle the problem where it lay, which was in their own mind, in the criteria they were using to define the one they determined to be at fault. The one making a call for help, who was being interpreted to be a malicious, law-breaking citizen calling for justice, punishment, in other words, instead of healing. And in this procedure, those analyzing him and then judging him according to their analysis and punishing him for what they analyzed him to be, saved themselves from having to become involved. I'm going to say involved at a heart level. Involved at a level where real connection occurred. It saved them the effort and the trouble. And so they could stand and look down on the poor soul and come to their judgment and send them on their way for their punishment and not be disturbed. Whenever you fail to recognize a call for help as a call for help, you are refusing help. Would you maintain that you do not need it? Yet this is what you are maintaining when you refuse to recognize a brother's appeal, for only by answering his appeal can you be helped. Deny him your help, and you will not perceive God's answer to you. Healing is a together thing. Healing is not something one does to another. The Holy Spirit does not need your help in interpreting motivation, but you do need His. Only appreciation is an appropriate response to your brother. Gratitude is due him for both his loving thoughts, which are real, and his appeals for help, for both are capable of bringing love into your awareness if you perceive them truly. And all your sense of strain comes from your attempts not to do this. Just a moment. Paul is getting hung up because what's being said and what I'm sharing creates a dilemma when someone who is expressing a call for help does not want to receive the help. When this happens, and a response of love is not received, what happens? The temptation is provided by the ignorant behavior of the brother not wanting to receive the love offered, the healing or the help offered. It provides the opportunity for the one offering the help to come to a judgment. Wow, he or she really is a difficult person, you see. The temptation is to succumb to creating a definition. Even though originally a refusal to make a definition and operate according to it had been successfully accomplished. The refusal to accept the love provides the opportunity and truly the demand not to abandon, staying with innocent vision, not to formulate a definition and then make commitment to it and then behave toward that person as though the definition you've made up is true. This is part of the involvement. This is part of giving the answer of love. It is, you might say, part of what you would call the stickiness of involvement. Because it appears then that a war is going on, a tug of war, where you're being invited to abandon your innocent vision in favor of making up a definition and behaving according to it, and thus moving into la-la land, imagination land, where you're lost. What it does is, this invitation to a tug of war, what it does is, it gives you the opportunity to make commitment to seeing with innocence just because. In other words, not because there's a payoff for you, not because there's a quick payoff, but because it is what represents your sane mind. You see, making commitment to being sane seems like hard work because you've been so used to doing something else. And so you look for alternatives to the hard work, not realizing that to see with innocence is natural to you and is not the hard work it appears to be. There's a point at which you have to stand behind a commitment to see what's real and not be distracted from it by another's behavior or your very own inclination to move into the realm of imagination and live there, where you cannot be conscious of reality. Continuing. How simple, then, is God's plan for salvation? There is but one response to reality. For reality evokes no conflict at all. There is but one teacher of reality who understands what it is, the Holy Spirit. He does not change his mind about reality because reality does not change. Although your interpretations of reality are meaningless in your divided state, his remain consistently true. He gives them to you because they are for you. Do not attempt to, quote, help a brother in your way, for you cannot help yourselves. But hear his call for the help of God, your brothers. But hear your brother's call for the help of God, and you will recognize your own need for the Father. Unless, of course, you decide you are going to get back into your old habit of making definitions and behaving on the basis of them.